Reading is brought to you by Strong Women, Strange Worlds, which is a group of authors supporting authors. Our mission is to elevate the voices of women and non-binary authors of science fiction, fantasy, and horror through events like our bi-monthly virtual QuickRead sessions. You can find more about Strong Women, Strange Worlds in the handout we've provided in the chat and by visiting our website, a link to which will be added to the chat at https://strongwomenstrangeworlds.weebly.com. I'd also like to take a moment to thank those who have made a $2 donation. We really appreciate it. I'm your host today, Sarah Smith, and you can find out more about me in the provided handout as well. Please note that recording of this session by the audience isn't allowed, and recording of electronic communications, including Zoom meetings and webinars, without permission is illegal, so don't do it. Today we'll be featuring 6 authors: Arinn Dembo, Kristin Illarmo, Angela Yuriko Smith, Brianna Malotke, Rue Sparks, and Amanda Cherry. Each author will have 8 minutes to read. Are you ready? Here we go. Our first reader is Arinn Dembo. Arinn Dembo's fiction and poetry have appeared in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, Weird Tales, Deep Magic, H.P. Lovecraft's Magazine of Horror, and many anthologies. She has also contributed screenplays and narrative design to many computer games. Currently, she lives and writes in Vancouver. Arinn, take it away.
All right. This story is called Memphremagog. Take it easy, boy. This old boat ain't so fast as she used to be, nor am I. It'll take most of an hour to get out to Owl's Head, even if I gun her for all she's worth, which I won't, because it's late, and there ain't no hurry. Now be still and no more wriggling like a damn trout. I'll give you the boat hook again, so I will. It's dark and raining, and I'm old and cross. I would have knocked you out cold already if I wasn't one for conversation. So if I was you, I'd get to talking. No, I don't know who you are. I didn't see the game last Friday, no, sir. Haven't watched a game since 1972. I'm a real Vermonter, son. I've had no interest in the local sport since they stopped sending the winning team to be our emissaries to the god. Just ruined the damn game, if you ask me. I miss the days when the boys on the field had values. You could count on a winning athlete to be a fine, upstanding young buck prepared to face the powers that be for his township. He'd carry our prayers down to Memphremagog for an end to the winter storms, or to give us a good year in the orchards. Hell, even the cheerleaders were brave when it come their turn to take a long swim. People had some stone to 'em in my day. What's that you say? Who's Memphremagog? Jeez, crow, what are you? Some kind of flatlander? You talk like you got no parents, no religion at all. Blackwater preserve us, boy. I ain't supposed to look under that hood, but you're no kin of mine. That's a fact. Catholic? Ah, well, that explains it, sure enough. Memphremagog is real god, boy. He's the god for people in these parts, like the Thunder Brothers out on Lake Champlain or the Pomola that lives up Mount Katahdin. And no, I ain't talking about a lake monster. You sure do talk like a Flatlander. Flatlanders think they've got him all figured, that he's some kind of dinosaur swimming around. But Memphremagog ain't some jumped-up water snake for tourists and their cameras. No, sir. He's a real god. The kind that'll have his due and won't take no for an answer. It's the same for us as it was for the Abenakis before. When the white men first came here 200 years ago, the Abenakis told them not to swim nor fish in the god's water. The name of the lake is the name of the god, Momlo Bogog, the great place of the water. And Memphremagog is the water, boy, all 32 mile of him. From the mouth of the Magog River up Quebec all the way down here to Newport, where your mom raised you. White men don't listen. And that's the cause of all their trouble. If white men could listen, you wouldn't be in this boat right now. You're here because you grew up drinking the god's water all your life, and now you owe him a debt. Ah, you're quiet now. Think the old woodchuck is crazy, do you? Well, you can think as you like. They taught you in school that your body is more than half water, and where do you think the water in your tap comes from? The moon? If I'm crazy, it's no harm. You'll hit the water at Owl's Head, and you'll swim to shore, none the worse for wear, even in the dark, so long as you don't give me no trouble between here and there. Yes, boy, I do have to do this. You think you're the first kid broke down in a boat crying? You think I'd be the first one who got soft in the head and tried to cheat the lake? Hell no! Even the Abenakis couldn't always hold to their bargains. Even in the old days, the god would sometimes ask for something too dear. They say one of the old chiefs had to give his young wife to the Manitou right on their wedding day. Wasn't that a bitch? Had to put her in the canoe and take her out to the balance rock to die. Changed his mind halfway there, and the god took them both. Ripped their village apart and half the forest, too. I've got 2 sons and a daughter living in town and grandkids besides, so no 2 ways about it. You're taking the swim, son. May as well not cry about it. And oh yes, yes, I've seen the fury of the lake god. It were the Olsons who'd done it, back before the Second World War. You've heard of them. Boy your age probably drank more of their swill than your mam would like, and God knows I've wasted a few myself. Olsons are from Montreal. A bunch of Englishmen who come to Quebec and made their family fortune brewing beer. They have the knack of being rich and getting richer, too. Steamboats, hotels, hospitals, railroad or 2. They even made a bank. That's how rich they were. One of them was rich enough to be aboard the old Titanic when she sunk. They say he jumped over the rail thinking he could swim to a ship's light off in the distance. There's a long swim, didn't go so well, I'll tell you what. It were the banker Olson who bought himself the best island on the lake and built himself a summer place out on the water. No one minded it much. Vermonters were happy enough for their trade for many years, but then Percy Olson died in the Great War, just blown apart like it was like a dandelion by a great big howitzer, and his little brother Jack Olson took over the place. Ain't no 2 ways to say it. Jack Olson was just no good. Jackie and his hooligans would come down here every year and just plain raise hell around these parts. They were drunk and wild, and the locals learned fast enough that no good would come to a girl who said yes to a boat ride with them. Or a picnic lunch out at that fancy mansion on the lake. Jack Olson had no respect and no sense either, but the Olsons had plenty of money to buy the law and keep things quiet for him. They spent enough to keep young Jack out of the papers and out of jail. I was just a boy the year that Jackie Olson went to war with the lake god. Way I heard it. Some old woodchuck got mad when Jackie and his bunch were rough with his daughter, and he got vengeful and decided to come after young Olson the old-fashioned way, with a Blackwater hex. So the old man went out to the balance rock and he made his offering to the god, and sure enough, Jackie Olson's left arm went limp that summer and hung off his shoulder like dirty wash. He went up to Montreal to the family hospital, and they spent a year fussing over him, trying to get it to work again, but it withered instead, just dried up like an old stick. Memphra Magog took that arm, and for all I know, Jackie's man parts went the same way. All I know for sure is the old farmer seen Olson in the store the next summer, and he laughed right in his face, and said he guessed little Jackie wouldn't be holding no local girls down, nor making 'em cry no more, thanks to the lake god. Thing was, Jack Olson wasn't just a mean drunk. He was smart in his way and a little crazy, and he had more money than any mortal man should. That old farmer didn't live out the winter. Sheriff said he slipped with an axe chopping wood in his barn, but people said it were Jackie killed him or paid to have it done. And then a couple of little men with glasses come to town about a few months later, hanging around the library and the town hall, asking the old Abenakis a lot of questions about the lake and any old stories they might remember. It was midsummer night when Jackie Olson and his friends went out to Manitou Island and piled dynamite around the old balance rock. He destroyed the stone because it belonged to the god, you see. He thought he could play the old eye for an eye with the lake. The storms rolled in the next day. When he heard what they'd done, my father tried to pack us all onto the White Mountain train to Montreal. Said he'd send a telegram when it was over. The station was jammed with old Vermonters doing the same. But I was old enough to think I belonged with the men, not with the wives and children, and I swore up and down I'd be a help boarding up the house against the storm. Tore my mom's heart, but she let me stay. Said she was proud of me, too, and told me to take care of him. Since he was standing right there, she was really telling him to take care of me, I expect, but I must have swelled up just like a balloon. First time I remember feeling like I was a man. And what happened? Well, what do you think, boy? He took everything in his reach, is what? All 3 of the old lighthouses on the lake gone, starting with Olsen's own lighthouse right on his own island. By morning there wasn't nothing left but a broken steel and flinders. Knocked the whole lighthouse on Whipple Point on its ear, just hit it with a great black fist, so it was leaning like that big tower of Pisa. My dad took me out in the boat to see it, to show me the power of the god before it all come down like a house of cards. The Newport lighthouse was gone that morning, too. With that red light that used to guide the boats to shore, God took the docks and wrecked most of Newport into the bargain. And men from Agog wasn't done, son. Anyone could feel it. Wind was blowing over the lake, waves still high and angry, and we could all feel that anger inside us, the rage of the water boiling in our veins. Another storm was coming, even worse than the first. He'd shown us more patience than we deserved, is what, with our mills and our farms and our human filth, and men from Magog meant to wipe us away like a bad dream. So my father and some of the local men went out that night in the dark to Olsen Island, and they went out to that big mansion, and they roused Jackie from his 4-poster bed. Weren't no way to glue the balance rock back together and put right what Jack Olsen done, but they dragged him out in a storm to the boats, and they brought him and his friends here to Owl's Head to take a nice, long swim. And now it's your turn, boy. No point in crying about it. I made the same swim myself 50 years ago, and half the men in town can say the same. The god spared me, and he let me reach the mountain. Maybe he'll give you a pass, too. He works in mysterious ways. Just be thankful it's summer, and the water ain't 20 below. Just be thankful you still got 2 good arms. Jackie Olsen didn't see land again that night, but you just might. Now, swim.
Well, Arinn, thank you so much. Boy, that was a stunner of a reading. Our second reader is Kristin Illarmo. Kristin Illarmo is a young adult science fiction and fantasy author fascinated by the impact of our decisions on potential futures. Her storytelling thrives on complex family dynamics set against the backdrop of decaying societies. When she's not writing, she enjoys walking in her quirky neighborhood with her tiny, giant-eared dog. Kristin, over to you.
Hey there. Thanks so much, Arinn. That was incredible. Gonna follow that up with what I can. All right, y'all. I'm reading from Without a World, and chapter 2. This is our protagonist has been invited to her mom's talk, and this is her mom, Beta, opening up. Thank you all for coming. She stood straight-backed, owning every inch of her height, and fixed her eyes on the crowd. Her white hair hung down the back of her signature floor-length black trench coat. This is the group tonight, so let's get started. We have a special guest. Miranda slumped in her seat and wanted badly to be invisible. My daughter, Miranda. She pointed to Miranda, shrinking even smaller in the back row now. Women and men craned their necks to look back at Beta's child. Her cheeks burned, and Nathan smiled down at her. I asked her to come because I want her to hear what I will tell you all tonight. I need you all to hear this message with your whole heart. I have failed. And now we're out of time. Last night, I had a vision. Oh, hell. Miranda sank deeper in her chair. I've told you all about the black hole that threatens Earth. In my vision, Earth was consumed. I fear the time for action has passed. Well, that's a downer, Nathan whispered. Miranda stared in stunned silence. This will be my last talk. I appreciate you all listening and supporting me through the years. I wish it were enough to make a difference. I recommend you take whatever actions you feel are best to ready yourselves for the end. Gasps and whispers floated through the crowd. When will this happen? A worried-looking man in the front row asked. Miranda snapped out of her surprise. The black one will swallow Earth? Really? She's finally lost it. She jumped up, and the chair folded on itself, clattering to the floor. She beelined for the door. Nathan ran out behind her. Whoa! You said your mom was a crackpot, but I had no idea. Nathan shook his head. She's out there. Yeah, thanks. My mom is certifiable. I'm so glad you believe me now. Miranda stopped and shook 2 fists in the air. She's been whining about this black hole forever. Why is our time up now? A guard walked by on the sidewalk. Nathan grabbed Miranda's elbow and nudged her into the crowd. Come on, our pass extension is almost up. They walked toward the looming iron gate. Miranda wanted to cry and punch someone at the same time. She's talked about this black hole before? Oh, yeah. Miranda gritted her teeth. She says people brought it on and made it grow because we don't love enough or something. It sounds like she's giving up, Nathan said. But why now? Miranda mumbled. The moons rose on the horizon as they waited on the train platform. Could there be people up there? Miranda whispered. I can't believe you're asking me that. His laugh stung. So does that mean no? Yeah, it means no. No one lives on that moon. No one lives on that one either, before you ask. He pointed to the larger moon. Remember, they sent a shuttle there when we were kids and proved no one is there. It looks more solid these days from what I remember. Yeah, he conceded. Maybe it's the time of year or something. Beda's always told me we came from there, Miranda said. Nathan whistled low. You know she's out there. Yeah, Miranda changed the subject. I forgot to tell you, I like the song you put on my phone. What band is that? I didn't put any song on your phone. You did. It was on there this morning. I listened to it on the way in until my stupid phone died. Did you forget? Maybe I'm not the only one cracking up around here. No, it wasn't me. I don't have any new music. Could your mom maybe have done that? Ha! Miranda laughed at the suggestion. Definitely not her. Where did it come from? The train pulled up, and Miranda rode the wave of commuters to the back. Nathan stayed close, squeezing next to her and an older woman on the back bench. Is your mom okay? Nathan asked. I don't know. Miranda stared into the crowd. The train lurched forward, settling into momentum. Miranda leaned her head back. The song that was playing when her phone died kicked in. How are you doing that? She asked, stunned. Doing what? Wait, do you hear it? Yeah. This is the music that's on my phone. How is it playing now in the whole train? People on the train looked around, confused. There was no sound system for music on the commuter trains. They left that behind in Bubble City. Everyone in the car got quiet and listened until the music faded. People murmured in low tones. It had to come from you, Nathan. Miranda, I promise, I've never heard that. Weeks ago, I gave you a demo of a thrash band I found, and I can assure you it didn't sound anything like that. Then where did it come from? And how did it play again now? Maybe you have a soundtrack, Nathan smirked. Maybe it came from the universe. She smiled at the idea, putting her head back against the seat and locking her arms around her backpack. I'm going to take a nap. Can you be lookout? Sure. He closed his eyes and she closed her eyes and enjoyed the closeness. Hey, wake up. This is my stop. Nathan poked her arm until she opened one eye. Huh? Yeah. Thanks, I'm up. The train rolled to a stop. The lights flickered, then went out. It was pitch dark in the train and black outside. As the door slid open, the lights came on at half power, bathing the train in gray. Nathan hesitated, like he wasn't sure he should get off. He stepped forward. He made his choice. See you tomorrow. Okay. An unnatural darkness hung beyond the doors. Be careful. He stepped through and vanished. Dread sank deep into Miranda's stomach as the train lurched forward. Someone stared at her from across the train car. What is that? It wasn't long before the train pulled into her station. She shuddered and grabbed her things as the lights flickered and buzzed out. She stepped on and over feet and bags, stumbling to the doors as fast as she could in the dark. She stepped onto the train platform and went cold as a hand grabbed her shoulder.
And of course, that's exactly where you choose to stop, you horrible, horrible person.
If you would like to know
Kristin.
more, then you can join the giveaway and or enter the giveaway and find out more. Could you guys hear all that thunder? Oh, meanwhile, lightning is like striking the whole time. I'm like, whoa.
We could see it flickering as you were talking about the lights flickering on the train. Good timing. Okay, our third reader is Angela Yuriko Smith. Angela Yuriko Smith is a third-generation Ryukyu-an American, award-winning author, a poet and author, and publisher with 20-plus years in newspapers. Publisher of Space and Time magazine, established in 1966, two-time Bram Stoker Award winner, and an HWA Mentor of the Year. She shares Authortunities, a free weekly calendar of author opportunities at authortunities.substack.com. Angela, it's yours.
Hello, everybody. And hey, Gordon, in the chat. I have a little bit of a cold today, so if I start coughing, I'll just end a little bit early, but I think I should be okay. I am on the mend. And if you do wind up liking this story, it is my giveaway for today. I'm giving everybody a copy because I want people to understand what's happening from the indigenous people's point of view during World War II that still goes on today. It still affects them. So, and there's a paperback copy I'm giving away as well. So there's 3 points of view in this book, and this is the point of view of one of the girls named Yuki. So Yuki, South Okinawa, the landing, and her family has just fled the soldiers coming to the island. The peace didn't last long. Oh, and she just woke up from a headache. The peace didn't last long. The sound of gunfire from a distance woke her up. Yuki had never heard a gun before, but she knew instinctively what it was. She lay there for a few seconds, relieved to find the pain in her head had gone away. Then the gunfire came again. Sharp cracks of sound strung like beads on razor wire. The cicadas went silent. She couldn't judge how close or far. People were stirring around them. A baby cried somewhere. Yuki sat up. Her mother was already bundling the few things they had left with them. Yuki's stomach rumbled with hunger, but there was no time for that. She rolled to her feet, feeling light and insubstantial, but not weak. The absence of pain made her feel strong. The cracks came again from a distance. Machine guns, but it was hard to tell from what direction or how far away. Yuki thought maybe south, from the direction they had come. The entire camp was stirring now. All the people that slept under the stars scrambling to pack up their things as well. Yuki helped her mother. Her father was already gone. He is asking once again if there is room enough for us, said Mama. He wastes time. If there was room, these people wouldn't be here as well. Yuki wanted to ask about the grenade, Did her mother know about it? Did she think it was okay? A bundle of sleepy shoji was thrust into her arms. He was hot and cranky. He pushed at her face, complaining. The gunfire came again, far away. Shoji stopped fussing instantly and stared at her face with big eyes. What was that? Yuki patted his back to soothe him. Firecrackers. There is a celebration going on, and we're traveling to see it. She was worried Mama would scold her for the lie, but instead, Mama looked at Yuki with a smile, thin and weak. There were shadows under her eyes. As she knotted a cloth, Yuki could see her hands were shaking. Yes, a fun celebration. We just need your father to stop obsessing over the damn cave. Her voice cracked as she jerked the ends of the cloth viciously. She threw the bundle onto the ground in frustration and turned away from her children. Her shoulders shook as she tried to compose herself. Yuki wanted to comfort her, but her arms were full of shoji. Is Mama okay? He asked. Yuki nodded at him. Yes, she's excited to go to the celebration, but we need Father to come back. Yuki tried to look calm, but her stomach felt like it was becoming unlaced. Any moment, she felt it might fall onto the ground. She scanned the area around them, looking for her father. The area was dark. No one had built a fire. There were shadows everywhere in small groups, scurrying to move on. Yuki didn't know how many caves there were on the island, but by now they must all be filled. She hadn't known that there was this many people on the island. Mother got a hold of her emotions, finished packing, and stood waiting. Where is your father? Her voice had a shrill edge to it. Yuki suspected the laces holding her mother's stomach together were also becoming unraveled. Perhaps when her father returned, there would be nothing left of either of them, just Shoji left alone with the remains of his family around him. The machine gun fire broke out again, but not as distant. Yuki thought she could hear screams mixed in with the staccato pops. Without meaning to, her grip on Shoji tightened to the point that he gave a squeal of pain. Yuki let him slide away to stand on his own feet, but she refused to let go of his hand. Her heart was thudding in her chest, knocking the air out of her. The soldiers were coming. Where is your father? Mama said this too loud, and her voice shook. Even Shoji picked up on the raw panic threaded through her tone. As if in answer, more gunfire. This time, Yuki was sure she heard cries mixed in. The gunfire stopped, but one voice continued. It was a wail, not of pain, but of loss. A woman's voice rose up above the trees, caught in the wind, and flew among them in the light of the nearly full moon. All who heard it were infected. No one moved as they listened, horrified by the wail. Then more gunfire, and the voice was cut short. He will find us. We must go now. Yuki, carry bags, and I will take Shoji. We need to go fast. Mama looked around again, desperate to see her husband. Yuki scanned as well. Surely her father was coming. Any second he would be hurrying out of the shadows toward them. Then Mama was scooping Shoji into her arms, grabbing Yuki by her shoulder and spurring them forward. As if everyone had the same thought, the people camping nearby started scattering. There was no tired march along the road now. In the dark, people were tripping over abandoned goods. Just a few feet away to her left, Yuki saw a woman trip so badly she dropped her baby. A running man tripped over the baby and stumbled to his knees. Yuki ran to them without thinking and scooped the screaming infant up to safety. The woman snatched her baby from Yuki and stumbled away. More gunfire, even closer, and Yuki jumped and turned to run. But where? In the jumble of fleeing bodies, Mama and Shoji were gone. She panicked. Mama! Shoji! Yuki couldn't pick up their voices in the mix of cries and yells. People ran into her in the dark, but the area was clearing out. In the forest all around her, she could hear bodies crashing through the underbrush. There were dangerous smells in the air. Iron-tinted smoke, burning poisons, the smell of strangers. Again, the sharp reports of gunfire interspersed with screams. Above the trees, there was smoke. The soldiers were here. And that's that. Thank you for listening.
Angela, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Our fourth reader is Brianna Malotke. Brianna Malotke is the co-chair of the Seattle chapter of the Horror Writers Association. In addition to dozens of publications, Malotke has 2 horror poetry collections, Fashion Trends, Deadly Ends, and Lest Cherry. In 2023, she was a writer-in-residence at the Château d'Orgeval in France. Brianna, it's yours.
Hi, everybody. So I'm reading from Lost Cherry, and it's divided into different sections. It's a horror poetry collection, and they're all the sections are based on different creatures. So the one section I'm going to read from tonight is the demon section. So the first poem is titled Becoming. You have me in a chokehold, lungs full of sulfur and smoke, muscles strain against your grasp. The shadows like ink seeping into my flesh, mixing in my veins. The darkness a poison straight to the heart, with eyes as black as the abyss and teeth as sharp as knives. My demon holds me tight, suffocating as the change occurs. This is Pour Yourself. Break me into a million pieces and pour yourself in. All of the cracks and crevices, not gold, not honey, nothing so holy. I want the darkness that oozes, your touch cold. Put me back together, and even if you leave, you'll forever be a piece of me. The salt stinging my wounds, the scars on my essence. This is Carmen Pigment. She bathes in blood and moonlight, a mind full of demons, and a heart as black as obsidian. Her smile sharp, nails long, and always painted match her favorite shade of lipstick. Ravenous, forbidden, she loves with a hunger unmatched. She'll devour you whole. This is titled Divinity on Your Lip. I fear myself, the version of who I'll be after you. After loving you, worshiping, where shall we begin? I've tasted the divinity that graces your lip. I've knelt at your altar, a messenger of catastrophe, of madness and destruction. You'll never settle for one soul to keep forever. Your kiss a death sentence I'm all too eager to receive. Where do we end? This is titled In Love with Decay. Entangled in my soul, you destroy everything you touch, the fire of my life. Divine violence wrapped in a body of a goddess, your frame draped in blood and silk. Delicate mannerisms as madness sparkles behind your onyx eyes, at midnight always get lost in. Wilted and decayed flowers are your keepsakes, and memories of deaths that tasted too sweet. Satanic, cast from the flames of hell, your laughter drips like honey over their screams, suffocating them, your smile wicked. Poison for the soul, yet I've never wanted anything more than time with you. Your touch corrupt, my soul blurred, for we are intertwined now. Love pumping instead of blood, I live for you, my hell. This is called Ripe Pomegranates. Blood on her hands and dripping from her mouth, as if she messily ate ripe, juicy pomegranates. She licks her lips, slowly, seductively. The bodies strewn about, meaningless home decor, her soul darker than any night sky my eyes have witnessed in this lifetime. No room in hell for this violent being. No name. She is ruination, carnage unmatched. To love her is to die by her hand. This is titled Until Death. The demon that's under the vixen, your poison that's addictive, no immunity, this death's sweet release awaits me. Pleasure and pain woven together until the lines are blurred and merged. My demon, my love, You haunt my nightmares and bleed into my daydreams. Venom on your skin and evil through and through, I can't scrub you from my soul. A deal is a deal, never broken, and I'll love you until my last dying breath. They'll have to pry me from you. And then this is my last poem that I'm going to read. It's called Vertebrae Metronome. Spiders in her hair, venom on her tongue. Flies swarm about, attracted to her scent of decay. Blood-stained hands and eyes as black as ink, tinted phthalo green skin. Beautiful, vulgar, and violent. She eats hearts like apples and wears bones as jewelry, the soft clinking of vertebrae, a metronome of sorts. She dances to music no one else can hear, laughing wickedly with each and every kill. And so this is just a taste of the demon section. It's not all of the poems from it. If you want to read more, I will be giving away one free digital copy of Lost Cherry.
Thank you so much, Brianna. Our fifth reader is Rue Sparks. Rue Sparks is a composite of neurosis and nonsense held together by duct tape and sheer stubbornness. A widow, disabled and queer, they traverse the equally harsh and cathartic landscape where trauma and healing align to create stories that burrow into the hearts and minds of their readers. Rue, it's yours.
All right. Thank you. It's about 2/3 of a stripped down version of a short story in this collection. So I'm just going to get right to it so we have time. The cherry blossoms were early this year, and that too felt like a kick in the face. Many things felt unfair these days. The fact the seasons kept changing, the Earth kept turning on its axis, kept orbiting the sun, everything was the same. Normal. Fine. Juniper was not fine, and if they were honest, they didn't really want anyone else to be either. A soft chirp disrupted their brooding. A pigeon had landed a few feet away, twisting its head back and forth, focusing one eye and then the other at Juniper with uncharacteristic intelligence. No, Juniper snapped at Smarty McBirdson. He cooed in reply, taking a few stuttered steps forward in the typical pigeon shuffle. Juniper lifted the book further up. But Smarty Pants wasn't deterred. He jumped onto the edge of the book, cooing gently and taking a gentle nip at their bangs. "No, you stupid bird," Juniper grumbled. Smarty Pants only tilted its head, then offered its leg in apology. A slip of paper was tied to it in a bow with frayed ribbon. Juniper shut their book with unnecessary force. "Find someone else," they said, tucking the book into their bag. "Prey on some other lost soul. This one is done." Juniper hated the gimmicky entertainers, their work hired for company-wide parties. Jugglers, balloon animals, caricatures, they were always cheesy, but it wasn't until this party that they felt betrayed by one. A fortune teller, really? They managed to avoid that corner of the lounge for hours until a gaggle of coworkers refused to take no for an answer. They all but physically pushed them to that corner of the room, full of laughter and alcohol. When it was Juniper's turn, they didn't try to hide their discontent as they sized each other up. Two predators debating which weakness to strike upon first. The fortune teller's disposition quickly transformed from wistful to severe disappointment in her gaze. "You have refused the call," was her greeting, and Juniper at least admired that she wouldn't mince words. "I'm not refusing, I'm ignoring. I won't be a part of this." "There is no ignoring destiny," Misfortune Face Cranky Pants said. "It will find you whether you are willing to see its face or not." If that made something twist in Juniper's chest, they could always blame it on the alcohol and over-seasoned lasagna. "So, do you do the company parties a lot, or is this just for me?" They feigned disinterest, even though their fingers twisted around themselves under the tacky tablecloth. We have to make money to live somehow. I have no qualms about a bit of theatre to do so. She stroked the cheap plastic crystal ball in front of her. And you are deflecting. I am quite good at that, they shrugged, taking perverse pleasure as the fortune teller's expression twisted into annoyance. One of the best. So you are, Miss Fortune Face muttered. It would have been unnoticeable under her breath, but in times like this, the atmosphere took on this sonorous quality that made everything feel like it was echoing between your ears. At least let me share your fortune, even if you refuse to hear the words. I don't think I'm getting away from this table otherwise, am I? Afraid not, she cooed with fake sincerity. Then the performance began. Juniper had to give it to Cranky Pants. She was quite good at her job, at least her actual job. The one where she spread prophecies like seeds that would sprout when the soil was just right. That wasn't terribly entertaining at company parties, though. She really needs to get a better side job, they thought. As she spoke, the flaps of the tacky drapery lifted and swirled, lights flickering as her crystal ball lit up like a prism, casting rainbows along the table and the face of onlookers. At the first light of Easter Monarch, an evil force will sow betrayal and trickery across the land. Only one who can speak divine truth can right this wrong and sunder the dark forces below. You, who survived the barren to bring beauty, you will bring protection and purification to this world. You have only to choose. As the lights and wind dim, Fortune Face leaned over the now dull crystal ball, huffing. Juniper brought up their hands for a couple slow claps. Yeah, lovely. Great performance. Miss Fortune Face glared, but Juniper wasn't done. You know, you really would do well acting if you got more experience under your belt. Maybe try community theater? Everyone starts somewhere. Then an exaggerated pause. You know you just described April Fool's Day, right? Cranky Pants sighed through her panting. They cannot say I didn't try. This will be your third refusal, the black cat drawled from its perch on the fence. You know well the significance of 3 and such things. Oh, good, a black cat. I would have thought Smarty Bickbirdson would have met your animal quota, but I suppose what they say is true. Nothing is original anymore, so why try? The cat was uninterested in Juniper's rambling. He made a few cursory licks of his paws. I'm well aware of the rule of 3, they continued, which means this is the last time I'll have to deal with all of you. The cat just blinked lazily at them, dull and content, basking in the afternoon sun. Hardly a herald of prophecy, are you? Do they usually look so bored? I am confident, the cat drawled out between content purrs. You will accept the call, and that I am sure of. That is how these stories go. The memory came unbidden then. An exuberant smile, missing the front tooth, but swallowed in youth and innocence that had been infectious, full of laughter and curiosity and joy, and stories don't always go the way we planned. Or want, they whispered, but didn't doubt the feline herd, or even how they should. No, I don't think life works like stories, and I'm done trying to live in one. Impatient at the cat's indifference, Juniper didn't spare the herald a second glance before walking past. Sorry, Sir Pushy Pussfoot, but I'm not going on any epic quest today. If that had been it, maybe things would have turned out differently in the long run. And that, not the end of the story, but that's as far as I'm going.
And we know it's not going to turn out differently, and it's not going to turn out well. Thank you, Rue. Our final reader is Amanda Cherry. Amanda Cherry is a Seattle area queer, disabled author of novels, TTRPGs, screenplays, and short fiction. And Dungeon Squilers cast member streaming on Twitch. Her nonfiction writing has been featured in ToshStation.net, Let me know if that's the wrong pronunciation, Amanda. 1138.com and StarTrek.com. Amanda is a member of SAG-AFTRA and Broad Universe. Amanda, it's yours.
All right, it's Toshi Station. If you're a Star Wars nerd, you know that. They sell power converters, and we did some pop culture reporting there for a while during the years of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. As Sarah mentioned, tonight I'm going to be reading from Time. And again, this is a book wherein we have time travel and a second chance romance. The thing practically named itself. There is a first time for everything. If you enjoy the three characters that you're about to meet, my giveaway tonight is the short story collection called A Foul in Affairs, which exists in this same universe and actually centers around the three characters you're about to meet. So if you like anything that you hear tonight, you definitely want to enter the giveaway because you will be getting more of them. Also, I want to quickly plug the fact that that short story collection puts the Ruby Killingsworth books in best series contention for Seattle Worldcon in 2025. And there is nothing I want more in the world than to go to that Hugo Losers party next year. So please remember that. You see, you laugh, but I mean it. So yeah, that is what we are doing. What I'm going to tell you about tonight is that the scene I'm going to read you, it's right at 75% of the way through the book, but it is my favorite scene in the book. I used to not read it because I was like, ooh, spoiler. But this book is a second chance romance. Everybody knows that these two characters are going to like have a moment at some point. And I wrote 120,000 additional words so people could read this scene. And so I'm going to read it to you now. What you need to know is they've been chasing these time travelers around for 75% of the book at this point. They've got a bunch of young, hip, cool superheroes that have been helping them out with it. They've followed this guy to Texas that they think is a lead on the time travelers. They're in a hotel suite in the middle of the night. My girl Ruby, who you see there on the screen, she's been talking to these other heroes, and my precious cinnamon roll hero, Jacob, who's been having big feelings, knocks on the door. The other heroes hightail it out of the room, leaving the two of them alone for one of the first times since the book has started, and they're going to have a moment. So here we go. He's begun to spill his feelings, but he won't spill the scotch, I promise. So you were back in my life, and I figured things would, I don't know, naturally progress maybe. And maybe they have in a way, but I've been thinking about it a lot, and I know things aren't going to just happen all on their own. I couldn't figure out what I could do that might move things forward. Big damn hero, short on grand romantic gestures. Who'd have thought? Turns out I'm kind of a coward, he said. Must be, Ruby replied, leaning forward to place her glass on the table in front of her. She folded her hands in her lap and shrugged. You had 2 years, Jacob. You could have found a way to say something. He tensed his jaw and knocked back another belt of scotch. I'm saying something now? Ruby shook her head and stood up again. She crossed her arms over her chest as she looked down at him. You know I'm seeing someone. The realization hit Jacob like a brick upside the head. Vivian? He stammered. It was a question, but it wasn't. It had been as plain as day had it only ever occurred to him to consider it. He knew the two of them had been in touch, and that Vivian had spent the night in Ruby's place just a couple of weeks ago. When he thought about it, everything about the two of them together made sense. He was sweating all of a sudden, his head swimming with the realization, and with a series of mental pictures he couldn't help his brain conjuring up. I'm sorry, he said. I'll go. I didn't mean... But before Jacob could finish his sentence, Ruby was gesturing for him to stay seated. She had her phone in her hand, perched atop her upturned fingers. It was barely a moment before the brief sound of a ring gave way to a familiar voice. Hey, you! Vivian said. How's Texas? It's hot, Ruby replied. And it's after midnight, Vivian said back. You should be sleeping. You know you're not well yet, and... Ruby interrupted her before she could get any farther into her expression of care and concern. You're on speaker, V. Oh, Vivian asked, sounding intrigued. And why is that, pray tell? It was clear to Ruby by her lover's tone that Vivian was expecting the answer to be something salacious. This was going to be a fun surprise. Because Jacob is in my hotel room, she answered. He is? And how did that happen? Would you believe he knocked? Really? Vivian's voice had a fake incredulity that told Ruby everything she needed to know about Vivian's opinion on her guest. Yes, this was a fun surprise. He didn't break down your door insisting you were in need of rescue? Alas, no, Ruby replied. That particular fantasy will have to wait for another day. Sad. Vivian paused, and there was the sound of her drinking something, probably bourbon. So, what's he wearing? Half a tux. Ooh, your favorite. You gonna take it off him? I'm considering, Ruby answered. Thought I'd get your opinion on the matter first. Are you planning on inviting Loki? Oh, no. Even if I wanted to, Loki won't set foot in Texas. Something about an angry mob and a Bible college. They've been a little light on the details. So, just the two of you then? That's the idea. Pics or it didn't happen, Vivian teased. I ought to snap one just now, Ruby said. Jacob has turned the most delightful shade of scarlet. Oh, I bet. Hello, Jacob. Hi. Vivian, he said. His cheeks were bright red, and it seemed he couldn't figure out what the hell to do with his hands. You two enjoy yourselves, Vivian said. And you'll call me when you get home tomorrow? You know I will. All right then, Vivian said. Have a good night. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Vivian hung up, and Ruby slipped her phone back into the pocket of her dress. She snatched her glass from the table, then turned away from Jacob, taking several steps toward the hallway before turning back. Well, she said to Jacob, frowning. Are you coming? And that's all we're doing for tonight.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you so much to everyone who came today.